One of the most common questions, and something that we really may encounter in our journey, especially early on, if we are trying to understand about awakening and kind of being called to meditate, and we are in that phase where meditation is not something that we feel as a practice we've ever done or we're not familiar with, right? We know that very familiar phase where I can't meditate, I've never done it, my mind is running, that, especially that. And so we're trying, but we know that there's transformation happening and that pull is there as the seeking mind. And therefore, the thinking mind, that which we are, is trying to understand. Right? So this is in that context, especially when the mind is questioning about being aware. Ultimately, all the words used, right, in the way to explain these are like, in that sense, pointers. And the only thing to do per se is to be and to be aware. But one of the key things, and I want us to kind of sense into this together rather than trying to understand it, just feel into it. So let's kind of move with this together, is that when we say be aware, the awareness that we identify with when we are moving as the five senses and this thinking psychological self and I is not the same awareness of the true self and reality that which we are. They're two different flavors of awareness. I want us to kind of sense into this. Just let's float together deep into this. So now whenever, right, when we are identified as this thinking intellectual mind that is asking the questions, and it's with the five senses, when we hear these words as be aware, right, they're actually synonyms. That which is being is experiencing the level of awareness. So when we are being, or the mind that is vibrating as a person, and that's the five senses, the awareness that we are familiar with as the I, as the being, is at the level of five senses. And that means, as five senses, the minute we hear the word be aware, become present, our attention, because we are the five senses, look outwards as the five senses. Okay, I'm aware. But where is that awareness projected on the outside? I become aware of the outer. This is great, as I've mentioned in my previous video, for the first step. For us to be unconsciously flowing with the thoughts and the mind, thinking that's reality and living and experiencing that. This can be a very serving first step. But to really realize that when we say become aware, we're still very, very aware of something. There are still 2 points. There is an I that is looking at something outside. Right? subject object exists. So feel into this. If you say aware, become aware. As long as awareness is on something, now whether that something could be an object on the outside, and when I say aware of something, it includes the thoughts, the feelings, the body, that is also outside. Because when we are identified at the level of 5 senses in this body, when we say become aware, we think it is outside of the body because we identify with the body. Because we believe that I am thinking the thoughts, I am feeling it. But that is also outside. The thoughts, the feelings is something I am aware of. What is aware? What is looking at that thought? What is looking or becoming aware of something? That is the key. As long as there is of being aware of something, there are two present. And that awareness is an outward projected awareness, which we are very familiar with as the dwapara yuga state of mind, right? Because there are two. The awareness of the true self is being self-aware. That which is not aware of something. What is it that is looking out? What is the nature of that? From where the looking is happening. That is the true self-aware. What is there? Is there anything that can be even described? This is the invitation. Know thy nature, the nature of that which is observing. So it's not projecting attention on anything outside as if looking at it. It is the nature of that which is the looker. I wanted to kind of offer a couple pointers, really helpful for me on my journey, and that really came through from within, saying early on, when I started with this awareness thing, and the shift was happening of this, what does it mean to be aware? How to discern, right? In that sense, when we are aware of something, right? That's the immediate thing that we're aware of, looking, projecting outside of something, whether it's our own thoughts, whether it's something that's happening in the body that is felt, or if it's outside the body, both. The quality of that awareness also, because many a times when we are seeking, and we take on so many meanings and trying to understand and all of that, it's very natural. And I really want to name, as seekers, we're so earnest, right? We really want to get it. Like the intellectual mind really wants to get it. That's the quality. So when it does that, it really puts its heart, soul, everything. So, and then I also want to name this, which is so common that I hear on the journey, especially if you have been on this journey of listening about things like, on the spiritual journey, you need to be careful, right? And it shows up in the conversations and different things, the beliefs that we have accepted. One could be of the ego, the ego will come and do this, so make sure it's not the ego, or it'll be another thing will be like, if we have taken on beliefs like there is evil and all of that. This is the flavor of the dwapara yuga state of mind, right? For it, there are two. So with the good, there is a bad. With the right, there is a wrong. So there's always contradiction in its energy. And that is why the level of awareness, at this level, when we say become aware, sense into this. There is a sense of vigilancy. A dwapara yuga state of mind and its awareness is vigilant. But this vigilant is very, very aware of what is happening. It's calculating, it's seeing. Right? I had these conversations, and that just came up again through somebody else, so I took that always as a sign to make this video. Is like, oh my God, I need to be vigilant about, that I need to be on the right path. I need to be moving, all of those things. See, that level of awareness, that vigilancy in the body, and as that awareness does not have us relax enough to allow things to be. The sense of allowing does not happen. Why? Because the mind has to be vigilant. Better not take the wrong path. Allowing naturally happens when we deeply, deeply trust life in a way that all is well. Whatever arises, that's why in the last video, in the Waking Cosmos video, that's really sharing, like, the visual that comes to mind is, that's why the untying of the knot, right? One way to look at it, the stream of consciousness that is, even at the level, if you look at it as a stream, is, like that infinity loop, like loops itself like in a knot, that allows it to experience that state at different vibrations. So you can look at, because consciousness has to experience resistance, right? Because it's everything. So it has to kind of limit itself. It has to. So there's nothing wrong with that. That is what allows for consciousness, that is us, to even experience ourselves at the level of the body. This tangibility, right? There's a denseness to this. So it can experience the beauty of physical life and world. So it's that knot, right? So whatever. And so when we are waking up, you can almost look like that pull of consciousness is like the untying of the string. And when that untying of the string is happening, it can be experienced by the known mind in many ways. It can be a messy untying, right? Or it can be a smooth and quick, just untying, right? And then I also want to share that with you, that at one level, it really is energetically an untying. At the Hrit chakra level, the back, right? Literally, you'll see it's like a energetic constriction. We won't, again, when I share about Kundalini rising, or I share about these kind of things, not necessary that it has to be experienced every time in that way. Sometimes you won't even know it. I'm saying it's really that releasing happens. Many a times we are very, very sensitive. Some of us may feel that literally in the body. May or may not happen that way, right? And whatever happens, we have chosen that as consciousness. So none of this is being shared in the spirit of that needs to happen. I want to be very clear about that, right? We all are very creative. As consciousness, each stream is unique and creative. Trust that is happening through you as you. Very important. Because sometimes we think something has to happen a particular way, and our eyes are then on that, and then we don't allow for the natural happening that already is. That's the invitation. So, but the reason to say this, because this was also coming up, right? The dwapara yuga state of mind has so many hierarchical definitions kept for, what will happen, what not, Every state is only speaking from its own experience in that sense, right? And naturally, that is the truth for it. That's its true experience. So it's going to share from that. But the thought that I'm saying, when this pull happens, with our seeking, some we know immediately awaken, right? Some are even awakened from the day that they were born, right? Or may say that level of awareness. Some of us take years, where we are moving through that. So our journeys are very unique. And so is this whole experience of awakening. Because the known mind looks at it at the level of conditions, because it is a condition. So it looks at it through that lens. So it says, I've been doing this for so many years and I'm going to give up, or this is not happening this way, or it has all. And these are all hidden conditions, We don't even know sometimes that we have taken it on. The reason to say this, share this, is because all these things sometimes have this awareness, this mind that is our personal mind, kind of always vigilant, looking out. Am I doing this correctly? Right? And this is coming from that as a response. Am I doing this correctly? Is this going rightly? See, as long as this mind is vigilant and looking back, like to check, it's not relaxed. And funnily, that is because it's vibrating, right? It's the thinking that is the vibration. That vibration itself is that creates the dwapara yuga experience. So I'm just kind of pointing that out, like, when we're doing this. So, in the example of the untying of the shoelace that came through, really sharing, doesn't matter what the experience of this awakening for us is. Allow that to be. Whatever happens, okay? It might be fast, it might be messy, it might be whatever. Transformation, like that shift comes, even if we conceptually kind of sense into it, comes when that is the bhakti aspect, that is the surrender aspect. When you give in and you really realize that even at the level of this, if you want to look at the level of happening, right? Because we are already consciousness. But even if you have to look at the level of happening, there's a higher way of perceiving it. It doesn't matter how this untying is happening. It's happening. That's all matters. So we don't engage our mind too much with any of that. This came up, that came up. Am I going in the right direction or not? This is happening, that is happening. Whatever it is, that was the thing. That is the thing of the pull. Everything, whatever this dance or this untying may be, the pull is in one direction, the untying. That's all should matter. And that's why this is the key. That every experience that we may go through, whatever this illusion of time it may take, space it may take, experience that the known mind defines and interprets and does all of that. Everything, with anything that triggers us, anything that feels good to us, we feel supported, whatever that may be, everything is moving ultimately in one direction, waking us up to our deeper self as awareness. Once we see that, then we are less concerned, really, right, to begin with then, of what our experience of it may be. We don't insist too much. We are not checking on, did it happen? Is it supposed to happen? What are the symptoms? What does it look like? At the level of mind, Shakti is mind. Manifest consciousness is so pure creativity. And the soul is living uniquely and experiencing you as a person, the soul that you are. And the unraveling of that will uniquely be you. At some point, you kind of really realize that and you come in. You realize, whatever it is, it's, right? I'm speaking in this context when you look at it as a person. There's a higher self that is me, that is guiding me. And your attention then stays with that. So there are two parts to this, right? One is, of course, now you see that no matter how messy or how quick this untying of the whatever this is, of the dwapara yuga state of mind, whatever, and that's why at some level, that's why not caring is one of the best things that you can do. If all of life is moving towards that, what is this personal mind worried about? Right? That knowing. And this, I want to bring this, that's why you don't care about whatever these experiences. You don't make a big deal, right? In that sense. And the second part of that is that comes from the feeling of there is just the giving of yourself to life. This is faith. That is why the personal mind is invited into faith. Faith doesn't demand a knowing of the intellectual mind. It doesn't understand, that's fine. I don't need to understand. I already am, right? And you'll word it like this. There's a higher power, right? I didn't understand my way into birthing myself into this body. Why do I need to understand myself for the movement of life? That's very deeply understood, right? And then at a deeper level, faith is bhakti, right? You're one with life and the divine. And that means you accept everything that comes to you in this journey. You lay open. You lay open. You know that, right? It's like if anything triggers us, making another video about that, and especially why at this time, because we're moving through a lot. Thing triggers us, we know our attention is not on the outer of who or what triggered me, what situational. Our attention is on the nature of the mind that got triggered. When we know that, and we know that all of life is set up for me, for my highest awakening, for me to see, to put it in words one way, right? For the mind to wake up to itself, then you just kind of give yourself to life. Nothing really means anything, as in the whatever meaning the personal mind is giving it. Because the personal known mind doesn't know. Its five senses, it only knows the world and its conditions, and its way of interpreting anything will be only according to that limited way. It cannot think outside of itself. Right? That's nature. It can't see. It can't know. That's why it doesn't know there are so many things that are happening, but it doesn't know. It can't see. And that's not its role. Its role is very important, to be in the body and in the world and in a certain context, which is great. But this, it doesn't know. So for it here, that's why it needs to give up and say, okay, it needs to remember whatever it is moving in that direction. And the reason this really came up is that's why, what is the level of awareness then, or what is the feeling or the nature of awareness when the mind is in this state? Right? It's not vigilant. It hasn't accepted ideas as if there are things outside of that which it is that can stop it, that can block its way. You know, all these beliefs, there's only one power. It's only consciousness. And also at this point, I really want to name this as well. That when we have the experience of that as if there are two powers, it's the one power that is experiencing it. So there's nothing wrong in that either. It is experiencing as if there is another power. But the illusion of the contradiction of two, as if there is anything else, can never really be. Because there's only consciousness. That's why we say it's all illusion. And when you stand in that faith centered, then there is just an inner relaxation. Right? You allow the mind, your five senses and the thinking mind inviting, relax. What you need to do, you will know. It needn't take on the burden to be vigilant about something it plays no part in. Kind of just exploring it, one way to explore this. If you're called to it and if you find yourself in this kind of situation anywhere, So you just allow everything to be. Then allowance naturally happens, right? Where there's faith and absolutely giving of yourself in trust to that which is the true you, then there's no question. So you just are. Whatever at the level of experience happens. Right? You just are. everything for the in the service of the highest good for all. Right? Because you are the all. Life. You know that. Then there's no questioning after that. Just start. Then that at the level of meditation, that's where the thoughts, the feelings, the objects, the situation, all that start taking less attention. It's a waste of energy at some level. You start seeing that. It plays a role, but you forget. And then you come within. Right? You come within. And that within is the awareness. And that's why I want to loop back to sharing. The awareness that is the vigilant awareness of the five senses is different from the awareness of the self-aware self. That's absolutely inward facing. You just are. So then you're not vigilant, right? There's a difference in the awareness. So you're not vigilant, you simply are. And that awareness of this self is absolutely relaxed, settled. It is not aware of something. It is self-aware. It's that state of beingness. There's no other. There are no two. I am. And that is why, in many ways, we say simply be accepting. Be that which you are. Because anything else will activate this vigilancy. To be that which we are takes no effort, it just is. It's a deep acceptance of life, right? Whatever is, wherever I am, it is. Right? Because that which I am, that is experiencing, creating, living, is consciousness. So then you're okay with whatever. No insistence. And the awareness is just being. So I hope you find this helpful. Much love.